Well, hello everyone. I believe we are good to start now. Welcome to our Autonomous Edge webinar. We are going to touch on what Autonomous Edge is, what issues it addresses, or what business challenges it addresses, and I'll show you a piece of that too. So in order to start, I'd like to introduce you to what Autonomous Edge actually is, very briefly. So it's really a very modern take on delivering a digital business workspace. When people talk about edge, it can have great many contexts in terms of IoT and networking, but for us, the edge is the edge of the business, and it's the digital workspace employees interact with in order to get their work done. The autonomous part of the name really highlights that what we have created is really self-engaging. It's a very holistic solution that leverages various technologies, including automation, to make things happen on its own. And edge, obviously, it's that edge of the business in terms of technology and workspace. One of the key driving forces behind this proposition was to create a consumer grade experience for our employees. So there is a lot of technology out there, and it's fairly complex, and the complexity translates into losses in terms of productivity. So we really wanted to create something that's beneficial to the business in the way that it's beneficial to the employees, helping them be more productive, kind of directly affecting the business that way. So when we think about Autonomous Edge, it's a set of services and capabilities. It's a wrapper for a great many technologies really delivered to the business to leverage them as business benefits. We don't want you, our customers, to worry about this technology and that one and what it addresses. We want to marry a set of technologies that we've kind of identified work very well together to really address a wide variety of business challenges. The reason why we put this proposition together and this as a product is that we've been doing workspace engagement for a while. We've been building IP, designing, building out skills, and gaining experiences. And we wanted to translate this in a way that would be very easily consumable for our customers. So our customers wouldn't need to engage us through lengthy projects, design phases, implementation, and it would this very rigid scenario that still may very well be very beneficial for some enterprises, but for most it is not, and they want something agile, lean, they could quickly consume, and that's what this is all about. We've done the workspace related engagements very many times, so we've really gained a lot of experiences that are all fed back into this proposition. One of the key elements we've identified is there are large and small customers out there in different verticals, and we wanted to put together something that's going to really work for everyone, but not in a way that it would be limiting or overly prescriptive. So we want to marry features together that would really allow you as a business to choose that set of features that are crucial for you, but choose them in a way that they will be pre-configured and ready to be used. Really, you would just choose and start consuming those things. It's really a very holistic solution. So when we look at Autonomous Edge, it's not one of those point solutions addressing a specific requirement. We've really tried hard to address a wide variety of requirements. I'm going to talk about that on the next slide. But we really wanted this to be holistic and strategic. So when you use the solution, it would really give you the breathtaking business capability that you would be able to leverage across the board, across the entire modern workspace. It's really a wide variety of applications and capabilities, so it's quite rich. There is a large multitude of applications that are really chosen in a way that they work very well together and deliver that cohesive experience without making it overly complex to manage and consume. One of the key driving forces behind this was to provide a solution that's evergreen. We hear it quite a lot, but it's much harder to put that into practice. It involves quite a lot of overhead in terms of maintaining the solution and managing it to keep it evergreen, because historically we haven't been really good at it, and it's quite a big change in for a lot of businesses. As a part of this, we've identified the story is quite wide, so we are going to be talking about operating systems, applications, and security policies, but really on a higher level. We want to deliver that capability that's going to enable your employees to do things and to do them differently and more efficiently, hopefully. Right. So in terms of the current end user computing challenges, we've picked a couple. So those are the bits that we've really tried hard to address with Autonomous Edge. One of the key ones is that IT is really a central function, or has been for quite a while, and that this central function itself kind of meant that we had limitations in terms of capabilities we could present to our employees. So it's really, we've seen it not long ago when some of those capabilities were married to a specific place or specific technology, that we would really be hampered, or our employees would be hampered, if they weren't in that specific place using that specific technology. We really want everyone to be able to use what's most suitable for them, and not really having to worry about a specific device, connectivity, or place. Really, the other thing is security. The security, it's a big piece. We could talk about it all day, but for us, we really look at security as an enabler, because what we have seen out there is really that security is inhibiting collaboration, because there are many forms of security, and very often security is kind of tailored on top of a solution to really make it secure and align ourselves with those various requirements businesses have. But again, that security very often mandates that we have a security boundary tied to something, or a security boundary tied to a device, and it limits experiences and it limits what our employees can do. The other one is hardware lifecycle challenges. Obviously, getting employees devices that are most suitable for them and refreshing them, that's a challenge across the board. Cost is one thing, but actually being able to manage that entire lifecycle is another one. And what we have tried really is to take those numbers into context, really think about what could a new device do for our employees, what productivity benefits we could leverage to make things happen more efficiently. Another one is OS and the upgrades and keeping it evergreen. And it's not the OS as Windows, is generally all the operating systems the businesses deal with in terms of end user computing. So that has been quite a challenge, and historically we haven't been really good at managing the operating systems. We've been kind of accustomed to going through major upgrade phases once every couple of years. But nowadays, with the various feature and security updates coming in on a monthly basis, quite a few businesses they struggle. They are still most of the time being able to match the requirement, but at a high cost, very high in terms of support and BAU. Again, for us, we wanted to take the pain away, make sure that those things just happen for you, and you don't need to worry about them, and happen risk free. BYOD, that's a very good story. We've tried to empower our users to use devices that are good for them, that they are accustomed to in those spaces of time. They could potentially be productive, and they wanted to be productive to deliver something. But very usually, again, what if we have seen out there, that we have seen BYOD done in such a way that the business really needs the security to take the front seat, needs to be sure that when the employees interact with the device, it's secure and aligns with all the corporate policies that may not necessarily be suitable for that kind of work. So that basically turns the device almost into something like CYOD, so choose your own device. It's very business, and you kind of lose that personal element, that the whole story behind you, why you actually wanted to use the device to enable you to do those things that you wouldn't really be able to do on the corporate device. And the other glaring difference is businesses that have really embraced BYOD without the required security envelope, so giving users all the freedoms that are available to them. Obviously, shadow IT then sneaks in, and it becomes a very complex exercise to remediate that in a way that, again, we want to keep our employees productive. The next one is customer and employee satisfaction. We really want to make sure that the people and users using our platform are, we want to measure how satisfied they are with the platform, all the way from application launch time to actually being able to report to the business. That currently is not really something that is being done. We look at consumer satisfaction or customer satisfaction through calls and service desk incidents, how many they were, and what they were related to. But that's the employees that are in trouble, that are having issues. A great many of those will never have ever reported an incident, and they are silently suffering, or some might not be suffering at all. They are having a great time, but we don't really know. So again, addressing this bit to have that visibility into the solution. The other bit is, there is the story about OS is very applicable to applications. Keeping it all evergreen really takes some effort, and it's not just about keeping evergreen, but keeping it evergreen in a way that works for the business, in a way that doesn't break capabilities and really enables the employees again to continue and be productive even when those updates and changes take place. So there is a lot to do in terms of testing and really validating, so we wouldn't inhibit the user experiences, and the employees would really be able to keep being productive. The next one is the location. I've kind of touched on that before. We've historically been really forced to create almost places of productivity where we were like an office, where the employees had access to a greater set of tools, and they were able to be more productive. We want to really take that away. It's not just about VPNs and remote applications. It's more about the strategy, how to make that work for the employees in a way that suits them in terms of their workflows. And all of this very often leads to a very complex EUC environment, because when we are looking at various point solutions, we implement them to address those specific challenges. What we quite often end up with is a very complex set of technology that's not easy to manage. And obviously, the ease of management that all translates into cost and capability and flexibility. And again, for us, that's a huge one. We wanna uh, resolve for you. So in terms of the capabilities of autonomous edge, it's really looking at those issues. We've seen them times and times and then again, and to design, build a solution so you don't have to. Having an all-encompassing solution that you could just consume as a service, and something that would really tick all those boxes we've touched on in terms of challenges and some more for various kinds of businesses, large or small, in different verticals. And to give you that capability without really taxing your IT department, or having to onboard a great set of new skills in order to manage those new technologies. So it's a solution that's holistic and very strategic, that really takes into consideration all those modern ways of working, that's desktop as a service, BYOD, choose your own device. And obviously we are looking at further at even on a device level at stuff like break and fix. I'm gonna go into those in greater detail in a bit, but for now it's just highlights. The other set of capabilities we were really trying to present to our customers is a worry free platform, something that just works and works on its own. And for us, it has been a motivator to really deliver that and leverage the modern tools that are out there, like automation, self-service, and be able to provide a lot of options in terms of how the platform runs. We can obviously, as a part of Autonomous Edge, there are various support envelopes, and we really want to look at what skills you guys have in-house, what level of skills you would want to use in alongside Autonomous Edge to really bolster the capabilities we are going to give you, or maybe make it a bit more cost efficient. So there is quite a few support models in terms of how Autonomous Edge actually works. Right. Finally, we wanted to provide a set of flexible tiers to mirror customer needs. So I've mentioned that we really want to make sure that it's the small businesses and the large ones that could leverage this, and we've tailored several tiers to those specific requirements, so you can very easily come in, taste, and choose what flavor would really work best for you. Because again, you might be already on such a journey to the model workspace or a more efficient workspace, and you may just want to take bits and bobs from our proposition, and that's what the tiers are all about, to give you sets of capabilities that really would work for you. And we've really tried hard when designing those to mirror business capability. So we are not really that focused on technology. Obviously, technology is the enabler of those capabilities, but for us, it's delivering that business thing that the business is going to leverage, and it's going to translate to capabilities directly presented to your employees. So when we look at Autonomous Edge in its entirety, this is what we see. So it's a set of solutions that are all cloud native, and all capabilities are delivered under an umbrella of a single service. So again, one of the key driving forces behind Autonomous Edge was make it an OpEx proposition, make sure that for per user per month fee, you get all the bits that you need. Make sure that we have hardware and software fulfillment licensing as a part of the proposition. For quite a few customers, this you already may have licensing and you may have hardware, so it is optional. in terms of provisioning, management, and insight, we really wanted to make sure that it just works. In terms of both experiences of the employees, I'm going to show you later on how it really looks, those really well-driven employee experiences, as well as the business, having those insights into how the solution works, because hopefully when it works, you won't notice that it does. And you really want to have that insight when something is humming silently in the background. You want to see what it is actually doing. Obviously, security and compliance is a huge part of the proposition. But for us, we've kind of leveraged security to do things for us that maybe necessarily do not relate to security itself. When using modern security approaches, it gives us capabilities that we can leverage really to affect the employee's experiences in terms of how the security affects him. And we can go really as far as making the security very seamless and enable the employee to do stuff he wouldn't be able to do before, really just leveraging the technology that's available out there. And one of the key elements is making this cross-platform, really caring about other devices than Windows 10. Obviously, Windows 10 is a huge part of the story, but we recognize as a business that more and more work is going mobile, more and more work is happening on different platforms. And when you want to have a holistic end-user computing solution, you cannot just solely focus on a single platform. There's going to be employees and use cases that are going to leverage several platforms in conjunction, and we really want to make those experiences smooth, and we want to make them work. The last thing is self-service and activity-driven ACM. Again, making sure that we introduce all those features to our employees and they can actually leverage them. To give them training in a modern way that they would be able to hook into those features and use them. I do have yet another slide that kind of describes how we've kind of put together Autonomous Edge. And it's very similar in the previous one, but in here we kind of focus more on technologies and capabilities rather than the high level options. So again, I'm going to jump into those in the next slides. Let me I'll go through the initial bits of the deck, and I'll then answer all the questions that are popping up. Let's skip this one. So when we look at the device itself, we look at providing a vehicle for all those new features, a vehicle that many businesses may already have. So really make sure that we can both provide you a very suitable device, provide all the break fix and support and all of it, but also be able to leverage the devices you already have and kind of use the features that are available for those devices to deliver those experiences. So again, in terms of fulfillment, we can provide the device on an OpEx model to make sure that you can really make it align with the proposition very well. Break fix support, again, one of the things that we have recognized when dealing with the software and applications was that we really needed something flexible. It's no longer sufficient to have break fix somewhere in the office. When your employees are out and about on the go and working from various places, they need to have that hardware support available to them, because that's what we have really tried hard to deliver in terms of the software layer as well. And obviously device security. Modern devices are more secure than the older ones, and they give us those nice features that are seamless and slick and that allow our employees to be more productive in terms of being leveraging those new technologies like Windows Hello, for example. So that would be the answer to the question whether we could go from an existing device that is sitting on Windows 10 currently being used to autonomous edge? Yes, that is very possible. And again, that's one of the key elements we've recognized with our customers. Not everyone wants to go in and replace all the new devices. There might be a reduction in terms of features that are available to your employees on those older devices, but again, the benefits are still huge. May not be as slick as we've envisioned it, really passwordless and all of that, but it's gonna definitely be very much further down the line than the old-fashioned ways of management. When looking at the OS lifecycle, again, I've touched on that before, we wanted to make sure that the device experiences are kind of tailored with the OS. It's very consumer focused, and it's very easy for our employees to consume those changes and the things like enrollment. So we've looked at the various bits that the OS lifecycle consists of, like automated provisioning. We really wanted to make sure that, while enabling you to leverage the new hardware, it would be married up with the software as well. So when you order a device from your vendor, it arrives directly to the employee, and when the employee unwraps the device, it is ready to be used. That's the automatic provisioning side of things. And I'm going to show it in a bit, that how it actually works. Security and feature updates, again, making sure that all those changes that the various OS vendors are pushing through are actually delivered, but delivered in a manner that wouldn't hamper the business, that wouldn't really impact the productivity of our employees. That's something that requires some planning, as it's not actually as easy to do. And if there are some implications to the business and to the employees, we can very easily remediate those. Again, intelligent security, part of the bigger picture, leveraging those new capabilities that are enabled by hardware and software to deliver a brand new set of experiences with security that was really done differently rather than the old-fashioned walled gardens. Secure internet access, again, very key element is when we access resources that are not part of our own network, which is hopefully a quite large portion of the resources, that is secured. And we really wanted to make sure that the experiences for the end user and the employee are very slick in that regard, that the security is just humming in the background and not really affecting anything in terms of user experiences. Policy management, we wanted to make sure that the policies are deployed, we have the compliance in place, and we know that the device has a certain security posture through those policies. It might be really related to capabilities, and it's not really related to just a single OS. So with the OS lifecycle, we are looking at the operating systems the employees really interact with. So, it might be Windows 10, iOS, Android, might be those Chromebooks and Macs. Very comprehensive solution. Again, it is up to you what bits you are interested in, what bits really do work for your business, because it's really around business and its culture, how those capabilities are being leveraged. Application lifecycle is somewhat similar to the OS lifecycle. We wanted to make sure that the experience is slick for the employee, and we tick all the boxes we need to tick in terms of security and feature availability. So the applications would be deployed on those devices in a manner that wouldn't really impact the users negatively. There is a lot of testing going into that to make sure that the employee receives an application that's going to work for him and receives it in a way that's safe, secure, and doesn't really inhibit the user experience. We did understand that there is a lot of applications out there it's not easy to say, we'll deliver all the applications to the endpoint. Some may not work. Some may have some specific networking requirements requiring VPN. Some might not very well execute on the endpoint device. So again, all those considerations have been kind of baked in, but I'm not kind of going to go into technology because we don't want you to worry about those things. We just want to make it work for you, and we want to manage those apps so we have time to look at the options, how to improve the experiences even further by using, for example, cloud native apps and other bits. In terms of updates and patching, it's not just about delivering a new version of an application to the endpoint. Sometimes even the application themselves have patches that are really have to be deployed separately. And again, having tools that are able to deliver this capability is something we thought would be very useful for some businesses. So being able to ensure the security compliance even across the application portfolio, where we are kind of looking past the application version. We want to make sure that it's not just the version, but all the various patches and some from third parties are deployed and are really in place. And a very relevant discussion around licensing. Is my user base and are my employees fully leveraging those applications that they have been provided with? Are they using them? Could we potentially take back some of the licensing and recoup the costs? And having this done in a safe way, automatically, in a way that you would be just being reported on what is happening, is one of the elements we've identified is quite crucial. A very nice example is the Microsoft 365 licensing portfolio. Those bundles are quite large, and we may identify that some of those are not really well suited for particular employees because of how they work and what the job roles do require them to actually do. Identity and access management, I've touched on that previously in terms of security. For us, this bit is very, very essential to really provide the employees with those new experiences enabled by security, to make sure that we are leveraging context. We are not really overly aggressive with security, but we can really keep the security on the levels that it needs to be, to make sure we can provision and deprovision personas, provision the deprovision application identities that are specific to certain employees, and be able to deploy dynamic security protection based on context. All of this enables, in return, us to have the capability and flexibility to make the employee's life easier. Again, a very nice example is passwordless identity, something that is part of the proposition, and we can strongly suggest everyone should use it because of the security benefits. But again, not every single business might be just ready for that. So that's why it's in there, and you can say, okay, well, we are not just ready for this option, but it is there. Once the compliance is where it needs to be, the compliance rules, you can just say yes, and it's going to be enabled because the technology is there, technology has been configured, and it's ready. The very same thing is around data lifecycle. We want to make sure the employees can access data anywhere in a secure manner, and that's going to enable them to collaborate with others, and it's going to enable them to work confidently and knowing that the data they need are always accessible to them, but also making sure the data is always backed up, is always protected from threats. And we are not just looking at the endpoint to do this decision-making process, whether data has threats or not. We really want to look at the data when it's resting on wherever it's sitting in the cloud, whether there are threats or not. Look at the data in transit and kind of marry all this information together to form that security posture, to form a very complete security envelope around our users and their data. And again, loss and leak protection, making sure that when the employees collaborate, they can do so safely and freely, having the knowledge that the access can be taken away, or if data leak happens, the data is not really usable by third parties, and the data is always protected. It's one of the key elements. Don't really look at protecting the platform that hosts the data. Look at protecting the data itself. And I've touched on that briefly before, but in my eyes, for example, the greatest or the key element is really user adoption and training. We can have all the features in the world, but if our employees are not equipped well to use them, they won't be using them. So having a solution that's going to present those capabilities to our employees in a way that's not really intrusive. Past are the days where we would give everyone large PDFs to go through, because we now have the data sets. We can see our employees' behavior, and based on their behavior, we can present them with training that is relevant to them and their role. And this way, there is significantly less training required, because we can leverage those individual skills that the employees have. And that way, the entire experience in terms of learning changes dramatically, because not everyone is presented with the same collateral, because people's skill differ, but also their job requirements differ. So being able to give them something that's tailored for them and them specifically as an individual is the key enabler that's really going to make the employees use the platform and use it well. And the next bit is service insights. Again, this is one of the things I've touched on briefly before. It's when we want to have a platform that's reliably humming in the background, we want to make sure that we understand very precisely what is the platform actually doing. Having that visibility into the actions of the platforms, having dashboards where you'll see the development of the various statistics in time, and where you will be able to compare and correlate those with various business challenges. Looking at very hard at the employee digital experience, being able to identify changes in that. We've all been used to SLAs governing uptimes of our services, but we haven't really used XLAs, where we are now look at user experience metrics. We want to make sure that the digital experience of our employees stays stellar. So in order to be able to monitor, report on it, and action on it, it's quite key. And again, the other bit is chatbot helpers, self-service, being able to give our employees that capability to reach out and ask for remediation, for service in a way that's friendly to them. The only thing the employee should really know that this service is available. And when he asks those helper services, they'll point him where he needs to go. Again, there is a short demo of that at the end, and the end is very close, don't worry. And yeah, the last one is business capabilities. So this whole proposition is really technically enabled, but when putting it together, we wanted to make your business shine, make it, give it that edge over the competitors. So we wanted the employees to be able to seamlessly collaborate, really don't have those walled gardens around them, having those challenges in terms of collaboration within teams, but also externally. But to make sure that when that collaboration happens, it's all secure and having it secure and being able to prove the security. And if there is a threat or a security challenge, we are in a position to quickly identify it. Self-service and orchestration, giving empowering the employees to do things, and for those systems that provide self-service, having them continuously learn, pick up new things that may be specific to your environment, being able to give you that business level analytics where you'll be able to look at those, correlate your changes within the business and correlate those to the behavior of your employees. Are our employees collaborating more? Are they working harder? What is it that's kind of making those changes within the business we might have seen in those last few weeks or months? Workflow automation, again, giving the employees capabilities to automate those tasks that are not really something they want to do day in and day out, but giving them tools and giving them the knowledge how to do it quickly and efficiently, so they would be even more efficient in terms of what they do. And even when you take away those daunting tasks and that those repetitive tasks, that the job role even becomes even more satisfying. So it's really beneficial to both the employee and the business. And obviously strategy and planning being quite crucial to this, being able to look at where we are with the platform, where you guys want to be, and being able to point the direction travel where we really need to go to really make sure that you are happy with the platform and the platform is developing the way it should. So I've mentioned that we have several tiers, and in here those tiers are shown. So we have an essential tier, advanced, ultimate in terms of autonomous edge. Again, feel free to you don't need to spend so much time or spend it or focusing on this because we are going to share the presentation with you. So again, you will be able to digest this in your own pace. But just to highlight, the essentials tier is very much focused around the device itself, managing the device and the operating system. The advanced tier kind of takes it a bit further, kind of looks at application data and security more in depth, and with the ultimate tier having all the capabilities and expanding them on other platforms. And the next one is the user experience I wanted to actually show you. So what you will now see is an autonomous edge device that has been, or the experience the employee would see when unwrapping and powering up an AE device. This device would have been shipped directly from the manufacturer. So I've received the device, unwrapped it, entered my credentials in, and this is the self-service I was talking about. This was the onboarding side of things. And again, the reason why I'm showing this is this degree of employee experiences we are focused on, providing something slick and very consumer-like. When you go out and buy your own phone, you don't expect to get a lot of guides explaining the individual steps. There will be some, but it's all built in a way that you will be in a position to very quickly consume the benefits of the product. And again, that's something we focused on quite heavily, being able to give you that seamlessness of the consumer experience. So what the device is now doing, it's configuring itself to align with your security policies, downloading apps, but the platform is actually built around the Microsoft Windows as a service proposition. So we are hooking into those vendors. So we are providing them with building parts, so they will be able to pre-build parts of the system and those experiences, and that way the process is much faster and much slicker. Technically, it's called white glove experience. And again, leveraging that experience to make your employees productive very quickly, even with a new device. things. So that's why, I've been mentioning new devices, break and fix, and that degree of self-service, because there might be a time when the employee's device breaks, or requires service, or something happens to the device that we need to almost wipe it, or the employee would need to wipe it and reset again. And if we look at the capability we are able to provide, we are not really looking at the days of re-imaging. When the device is able to reset itself very quickly, now the reset option is actually something our employees could potentially use if they are in a situation that really they've gotten to a point that the system is not usable for any reason. So when the setup finishes, you will see where we get to. It should hopefully be the fully configured device that just enables me to be productive. There is always the security side of things. So this device, when setting it up, when we're recording the session, it has actually been set up for our Ultima tenant. So we have quite extensive security requirements that go past the usual BitLocker, with us having to configure pins and activate Windows Hello for secondary authentication. And that was our choice. We really didn't need to use those features, but those features were available for us to onboard. And again, when the system is set up, it will provide me with an environment I can be basically start being productive straight away. So in here, I have my applications. Again, in this case, it's fairly basic application portfolio, but it can be quite extensive because the process allows us to make that portfolio quite extensive. As you can see, it's been kind of recorded in real time, because the application start, the first time application start are not really that stellar on this device, because the device has just set itself up. So this is not just cold start for the device, but it's the initial start of the device in its entirety. So you can see, my OneDrive has been set up and I have access to the entire SharePoint. I have been provisioned with a set of policies that will allow me to directly interact with data. So even in a browser, I can very efficiently see what is it I've been working on, and my identity has been directly plugged in. So again, gone are the days where I would need to go in, fill in those usernames and password. I can search for a colleague of mine. There is the end-to-end integration, because again, we have been looking into integrating this into the Microsoft ecosystem quite extensively. And if I fire up an application, again, the application is going to be pre-configured for my entity. It's just going to set itself up for my policies. So with Outlook, it's going to be the initial start when Outlook is going to sync itself, make it available offline. So it's one of those experiences. But again, we wanted this to be slick, and hopefully you can see it is. We go past this and past those features, and we kind of look at things that are very common business challenges. So one thing I wanted to show here is when I create a new email, there is no email signature. Again, we've kind of identified this to be a very common issue. So we control your signature centrally. No matter what device you send them from, it's always going to be the same signature. The signature is going to be built based on your branding requirements and the employee's job role and all of it. And it's going to be something the employees don't need to worry about. So you can see when everything is pre-configured for you, now the experience is very slick. If I had something on the desktop, it would immediately get pulled in, and the application portfolio got deployed. Connectivity for my line of business apps that for some reason do require VPN has been provisioned. So yeah. Another example of the experiences we are looking at is the chatbot integration, that self-service. So what is it I'm doing here is that I go to my OneDrive and I delete a file. Obviously, I'm using the Teams client. I can do it anywhere I want. But I want to restore the file, and I may be a user who's not really very well versed in terms of how SharePoint and OneDrive works. I don't know where that file is. I might have deleted it quite some time ago, and I don't know whether it's in the SharePoint recycle bin, OneDrive recycle bin, where it actually is. Is it, what are our retention policies in that regard? That's something I shouldn't need to know. I should need to know what is it, content of the file or name of the file when it has been created or deleted, something along those lines. And the system, in a chatbot-like manner, will present me with those options. I can kind of look at those files and say, okay, maybe it's not one of those, so I can search again, and then kind of narrow down the search to a point that I would be happy with the file restore. Again, this is one of the many capabilities the system has, but again, the highlight is it kind of very well represents the key governing principles for us. How is it that we've been building the platform, and what kind of experiences we wanted you guys and your employees to have. And now Ava is gonna look at the files. I'm gonna ask her to restore a specific one. She'll restore it, and it's gonna be where it was meant to be before after the file recovery. So it's not just file restore. There is a lot more the chatbots do in terms of asking various technical questions and addressing the most common technical challenges common to your users and employees, and that platform actually being able to learn. So yes, this is Ultima's autonomous edge. So hopefully it hasn't been that demanding in terms of attention. We are going to share the slide deck with you, and if you have any questions, feel free to type them in, or ask them offline. We'd be happy to answer this. We are currently in a position, we are running pilots within Ultima and with some of our chosen customers to really validate some of the key governing principles, but this is going to be available to be consumed very, very soon. So yeah, stay tuned. And if you feel this is interesting, feel free to reach out, and we can definitely talk about the details. Even we can go a fair bit more technical than this one. Thank you. Thanks.